Hey now, YouTube, and welcome to the end of your cycle. I know that a lot of reefers explain or walk you through the end of cycling a saltwater aquarium as the nitrogen cycle balances itself out. However, for me, it's a little bit more complicated than that. I believe in my 4-step method. That number 1, the ammonia production is very important. Number 2, the bacteria colony that establishes itself on the surface of the rock to create, number 3, the biological filtration required for step number 4, tank stability. Now, the nitrogen cycle will really only walk you through the ammonia production, the bacteria colony, and the first phase of the biological filtration, not necessarily tank stability. This is why a lot of people see what I refer to as a mini cycle, say 2 or 3 months into the life of their saltwater aquarium. So let me walk you through the last 3 weeks, because it's been a very busy 3 weeks when it comes to owning a saltwater aquarium. So we're going to review week number 4, 5, and 6 in this video. Okay, I do apologize in advance, we do have a lot to cover, but I want to talk about how week 1, 2, and 3 were all about establishing the ammonia production, a bacteria colony, and biological filtration. Now what we're seeking is tank stability. So as soon as I start seeing a decline in my nitrate, the first thing I do is I do a 20% water change. And the reason for this is quite simple. I want to help my tank get rid of the nitrate as soon as possible, because I know that the biological filtration that I'm establishing on the surface of my rock require the nitrogen cycle in order to continue to feed themselves. They're called live rock because they're filled with biological life on them. So the second thing that I do is I start introducing ghost feeding. This is to continue what I refer to as the nitrogen production. So I want to continue to feed the biological filtration that's on the surface of the live rock in order to have my tank stability. Now, this is very important. I get this question all the time. What do I ghost feed? Very simple. What I imagine is that I have 1 or 2 fish and maybe about 10 corals in the tank, and that's it. So I introduce a little bit of krill shrimps every 3 or 4 days. I do pellets every day, possibly quantity, 4 or 5 pellets every day. And I also feed phytoplankton. Now, the third thing that I do is I turn on my skimmer. Turning on your skimmer at this point is interesting because you're going to be able to fine-tune it. Now, these skimmers kind of have personalities of their own where they take a lot of tweaking in order to hit that sweet spot. Now, what I recommend doing is turning it on right now and start doing small adjustments and then leaving it for about 15-20 minutes and then doing another adjustment afterwards. So don't do an adjustment and wait and look at if any changes has been done to how your skimmer is operating at that point. You're not going to be able to see result that quickly in a couple of seconds or even a minute or 2. So I recommend that you wait 15-20 minutes in between adjustments. Now, obviously, what I want to see is I want to see a dark skimmate, kind of what I have on now. Now, if there's something that's absolutely confusing about this hobby is the amount of biomedia filters that exist or that are available for sale. You can spend hours researching them, and every single one of them will tell you that they're the best at whatever respective, nature that they provide, right? So to me, what I'm going to do, since this is really the introduction to owning a saltwater aquarium, and I want to show you that you can, with a proper schedule, maintenance, and obviously understanding of your tank, that you can be very, very successful with not necessarily the bare minimum, but with the bare requirements of what you need to have to make this work. So I run 2 biomedia filters in here. So number 1 is carbon. Carbon's just good for 2 reasons, in my opinion. Number 1, the odor cancellation. So it helps you get rid of that tank smell that you can easily get. And number 2, it helps you clear your water. So I recommend that you do one thing when it comes to your carbon media, is that you put it in your sock and don't put it in a bag separate. The reason why I say put it in your sock is because that's where you have the most amount of volume of water that goes through. Number 2 is ChemiPure Elite. This is just a phenomenal filter media, in my opinion. It comes in a nylon bag and it helps you reduce things like phosphate, additional nitrite, ammonia, nitrate, these types of things. And this has really just helped me continue to have some sort of tank stability while everything is still establishing itself. In the long run, when I have really well seeded live rock 2 or 3 years from now, I'm probably not going to see the benefit from a small little bag of Chemipure Elite. Now, as you can see, I have a Refugium, and I don't know if it's the nerd or the geek in me, but I absolutely love Refugiums. I can't tell you why, they're just super interesting in my opinion. So, I do have a dedicated Refugium light that I'm not using on this setup. It's about $150, $160, but I decided, against my own will to go against putting it on this setup because I want to show you that you can, again, be very successful with the bare minimum. So all I have is a Home Depot LED light, the highest wattage that I could get, and a cool-ish temperature. I believe this is 4,000 Kelvin, and all I've put it on is a simple fixture. Now, the reason why you want to grow algae in your Refugium is, in concept, very simple. Number one, you want to be able to outcompete the algae that grows or potentially could grow in your main display. Number two, if you have a reverse light cycle, which means that if the lights are on the Refugium as the lights are off in your main display, it helps stabilize the pH level in a smaller water volume, something around the 170 gallons and below. And obviously maintaining a pH level consistently is important for the tank. Number three, it's a refugium for a reason. It's a place of refuge for copepods and amphipods and all sorts of small life and bacteria that can grow in here and that it can get sucked up into your main display and spat out for your fish to eat, for your corals to be fed on. It helps with things like growing actual phytoplankton. It's super beneficial, and there's endless research and readings that you can do on the internet. Now, week number 6, everything is stabilizing itself. We're happy. The cleanup crew is doing its job. It's time for the moment we've been waiting for, and that is fish and corals. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your local fish store. You're going to bring $100 and you're not going to spend any more than that. You're going to buy yourself 1, maybe 2 fish, and you're going to buy yourself 2 to 4 corals. Now the fish that you're going to buy is going to be a hardy fish. Ask your local fish store which one is a hardy fish. I recommend damsels to start off with. The reason why I recommend that is because they're actually pretty tough little buggers. And on top of that, they're quick, they swim fast, they're super active, and they're going to make it entertaining. However, I can guarantee you that you're not going to keep your damsel for very long. So same rule applies as the cleanup crew. Do not get attached. And the reason why I say this is for 2 reasons. Number 1, they tend to be slightly aggressive. And at one point, once you start realizing that you can't have 15 fish in your small 50-gallon tank, you're going to have to start to get rid of 1 or 2 fish. So the damsels tend to be the first ones to go. And corals are super simple. What you're going to do is you're going to take the remaining of that $100 and you're going to try to buy yourself 2 to 4 corals in total. So go out and try to find the best deals that you can. Don't worry too much about if you like the coral, if you're thinking of keeping it or not. What we're doing at this point is we're really trying to understand whether or not we have tank stability. And the best way to do so is not to test your tank, is not to see the results on a piece of paper, is to actually observe how the livestock in your tank reacts and lives. As you can see, my corals are fully open. My fish is swimming around super healthy, picking on the rocks. When I feed him, he comes right away. The cleanup crew is walking around all over the place, picking, nipping at things. This is exactly what you want to see. This is a good indication that you have tank stability. So I recommend that when it comes to picking corals, pick hardy corals, not hard corals. Corals that are hardy, harder to be affected by the perimeters of your tank. So what I like to recommend is things like toadstools as a leather coral, obviously zoas or zoanthids, mushrooms, polyps, and any other type of softy corals that you have out there. So I would say buy 2 to 4 of them, place them all over your tank to see how they react, how they like it. A good time for you to adjust your flow inside the tank and to adjust your lighting as well. And there you have it, the first 6 weeks of owning a saltwater aquarium. At this point, everyone can take a breath. Do not rush into anything. I will tell you what is the first thing that you can do once you have tank stability in my next video. I do appreciate you sticking around and stopping by. And until then, happy reefing, and we'll see you then.